which is taking place in Kashmir, because this state has gone into polls. So before I start your journey with the first on point, let me introduce you to the headlines. Prime Minister Modi attacks Rahul Gandhi over Devta remarks, says it is the Congress Naxal mindset. Completely unwarranted, says India on US court summons over Khalistani terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Panun. After pager attack, Israel bombs southern Lebanon. Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar condemns torching of houses of Mahadalits in Bihar's Nevada. Government lab report mentions presence of animal fat in Tirupati laddus. Andhra government says the report to slam previous Jagan government. Over 100 shops and houses of indigenous people burned down in Chittagong Hill Tract in Bangladesh. India faces a wide range of terror threats from ISIS. Al-Qaeda warns Financial Action Task Force report. Akhilesh Yadav makes mafia swipe on Yogi Adityanath. War of words between SP and BJP refuses to die down. Union Minister Ravneet Singh Bittu booked in Bengaluru for Rahul Gandhi. Remark: number one terrorist of country. On 17 September, thousands of pages in possession of Hezbollah detonated across Lebanon. It killed 12 people and wounded 3,000, including Iran's envoy to Beirut. The following day, another wave of explosions rocked Lebanon, in which handheld radio sets, cell phones and laptops exploded. It left 20 dead and 450 injured. The pager and radio handset attacks in Lebanon heralds a new threat that merges cyber and physical warfare, a new kind of hybrid warfare. The front line now extends from battlefields to smart homes to mobile systems, putting civilian infrastructure at risk. A war can be started without crossing the border. Two major concerns arise from these developments. First, it can affect global supply chain in an interconnected world. Trade can get affected. Second, ability to weaponize a pager as a bomb will require security services to reorganize their command and control systems. Nations will need to reimagine their communication systems. Iran's, Syria's, Lebanon, their security services must be having a nightmare, because they are involved in a larger, I would say, subterranean warfare with the state of Israel. Israel's defense minister, Mr. Gallant, said that it is the beginning of a new era and we need to adapt.
ואני מעריך שאנחנו בפתיחה של תקופה חדשה בתוך המלחמה הזאת. ואנחנו צריכים להתאים את עצמנו, זה נכון לכולם, בוודאי למי שנמצא באוויר או שולט במה שנמצא באוויר, מפני שהאופוזיציה פה היא יותר חזקה. זה לא חמאס, זה משהו אחר, וצריך להיערך לעניין הזה כמו שצריך, לקחת את זה בחשבון. אנחנו נידרש לעקביות לאורך זמן. מלחמה הזאת דורשת העזה רבה, נחישות והתמדה. ראשית, מרכז הכובד עובר צפונה. המשמעות היא שאנחנו הולכים ומסיטים כוחות, משאבים, אנרגיה לכיוון צפון. לא שכחנו את החטופים ולא שכחנו את המשימות שלנו בדרום. זו חובה שלנו ואנחנו מבצעים אותה במקביל. הפעולה הזאת מתבצעת על ידי כל הגופים, והמשימה היא משימה ברורה ופשוטה, להחזיר את תושבי היישובים בצפון אל הבתים שלהם בביטחון. אני חושב שכאשר אתם מסתכלים על תמונת המצב, צה"ל מביא הישגים מצוינים, יחד עם שב"כ, יחד עם מוסד, על כל הגופים ועל כל המסגרות, והתוצאות הן תוצאות מאוד מרשימות. אנחנו יודעים את החשיבות הרבה שיש בעת הזאת לבצע את הדברים בשיתוף פעולה הדוק. זה קורה קודם כל בין כל השחקנים בתוך צה"ל, יחד עם הארגונים האחרים, וגם ברובד של המפקדים הבכירים ביותר. יש תיאום מלא במערכת ואחדות בקשר להשגת המשימות. ראש הממשלה, הרמטכ"ל, ראש השב"כ, ראש המוסד ושר הביטחון, כל מה שהם מייצגים, הכל בצורה משותפת, מוקדש למטרה אחת.
Now let me straight away go to Major Dan Pfefferman, Israel's Defense Forces and Executive Director of Sharika. Thank you so much and good to see you after such a long time, Mr. Pfefferman, on my show, On Point. And let me begin straight away by asking you, what sort of hybrid warfare is this? Are we witnessing a new warfare?
Thank you for having me on the show. It's good to see you again also. No, this is not hybrid warfare. This is not new warfare. This is intelligence-led pinpoint operations at the peak of their capacity, at the peak of creativity, at the peak of creativity, of imagination, of targeting, at the peak of sophistication of what an intelligence operation looks like, assuming, of course, it is Israel. Israel has not confirmed that it is behind the attack. That, of course, that's just what is assumed, and Hezbollah is blaming Israel. But this needs to be put into the context that I fear the international media is missing here. And that context is, since October the 8th, before Israel even fired a single shot towards Gaza, before Israel sent a single fighter jet over Gaza, before Israel sent even the first of its combat troops into Gaza, while hundreds of terrorists were still hiding in and around Israeli farming communities in southern Israel, Hezbollah, unprovoked and with no legitimate claim to have any grievances against Israel, opened a barrage of rocket, missile, and drone warfare against northern Israel. Israel had to evacuate over 60,000 Israeli civilians from its northern border who are still, 1 year later, who are still homeless, who are still living in hotels or living with relatives, whose children have not gone to school in a year, people who cannot tend to their farms or their homes in over a year. And Hezbollah continues to fire with no real justification, no claim. Israel does not control Lebanese territory. Israel has not attacked Lebanon prior to this for many, many years. And this is part of Hezbollah's approach to take advantage of any kind of situation in the Middle East to increase pressure on Israel, knowing Israel was bogged down in the south, knowing Israel is bogged down in Gaza, dealing with this existential threat of Hamas and what it did to Israel on October 7th, and that Israel is not seeking escalation. And so Israel has been trying to send clear messages to the Hezbollah leadership, to the international community, that Hezbollah needs to stop firing these unprovoked rocket and drone attacks at Israeli cities and civilians. And this is another effort for Israel to signal to Hezbollah that it wants Hezbollah to back away from the border, to stop firing so that Israeli civilians can go back to their homes. And Israel did this in an unbelievably pinpoint accurate way that minimized civilian casualties to a level I've never before seen in the history of modern warfare. It targeted only people with supposedly with these Hezbollah pagers and walkie-talkies. And this is really a phenomenal move, if indeed Israel's been.
You know, Dan, people are worried that, this is a clear case where civilian gadgetry has been weaponized. Though civilian aircraft was weaponized in 9/11, I understand that, but basic civilian gadgetry for day-to-day use which you carry in your pocket has been weaponized. It's like an idea has thrown away to terrorist organizations. Imagine you can weaponize a low-tech pager, mobile phone, walkie-talkies.
How is this any different than what Hezbollah, Iran, and Hamas have been doing with drones? How is this any different than the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of balloons laden with explosives and children's toys sent by Hamas and Islamic Jihad over the border? How is this any different than cyber attacks that we see around the world every day? The truth is that again, if Israel is behind it, it sends a clear, in a very creative way, intelligence opportunity to pinpoint only people directly connected to Hezbollah and to inflict harm on them, to inflict chaos. Most importantly, not just harm to Hezbollah, to inflict chaos within the ranks of Hezbollah. This is a recognized international terrorist organization that has been wreaking havoc on Israel and Israeli civilians for not just the past year, but for many decades before. This is a recognized terror organization that partook in the genocide of Syrian civilians at the behest of Iran and the Assad regime. And so I don't think anyone in Israel is losing any sleep over this.
Dan, you have served in military. Every and any military action has a political objective. What sort of political objective has been served by these two attacks or these two operations?
Sure. Of course, I'm just guessing here, just like everyone else in the international media. But an attack like this is not something that you prepare in a week, not a month, and maybe not even a year. This is a long-term attack that requires significant infrastructure. From what I read in the press reports, apparently shell companies, again, whoever was behind this had different kinds of shell companies, and one had to infiltrate Hezbollah's logistical network to understand that they even were interested in buying such pagers. By the way, pagers are not cell phones because cell phones can easily be tracked, the geolocations of them. You can hack into their microphones and listen to anything that's being said in the room. And so Hezbollah, just like Hamas has also done, instead of going the high-tech route, because Israel is a high-tech superpower, went the low-tech route and went with analog pagers to try to get around this. There are a number of things that Israel could have been trying to achieve here. First and foremost, this is to instill deterrence. And this is really the big goal of this, to instill deterrence, that Hezbollah knows that it has been infiltrated, that its ranks, its equipment, its office supplies, and it doesn't know. It doesn't know now if it's phones, if it's computers, if it's cars. This kind of infiltration shows just how vulnerable, just how superior Israel is, again, if indeed Israel is behind this attack. And so it instills fear, chaos, and all of the goal that Israel is trying to reinstill deterrence, because Israel is not interested in war with Lebanon. Israel is not interested in war with Hezbollah, and has been trying to refrain from any kind of escalation, but to try to get Hezbollah to back down. And so it is seeking ways to deter Hezbollah, and perhaps this is a way to do it. If Hezbollah cannot be deterred, then the second goal, and I think another primary goal of such an operation, would be to instill chaos in the ranks of Hezbollah. You've taken out now the communication mechanism between the Hezbollah headquarters and its various operatives and Iranian operatives operating in Syria. And so, how long does it take to find new equipment, to see where the infiltration took place, to reinstill safe lines of communication, to purchase new kinds of equipment, at least for weeks, if not longer. You instill chaos, you instill paranoia in the ranks of Hezbollah. And lastly, I'll say two possibilities as to the timing that I have heard from different sources here is, one, it could be the precursor to a wide-scale IDF operation meant to neutralize Hezbollah's rocket array, because Hezbollah, as I said, is not backing down 1 year into this unprovoked conflict. And that's what we heard Israel's Defense Minister Gallant saying on the clip that you aired, that the focus of Israel's military activity is now going to shift up north so that those 60,000 plus civilians can go back to their homes after a year. Alternatively, I did hear that Israeli intelligence might have sensed or been suspicious that someone in Hezbollah was becoming aware that its beeper system had been infiltrated, and so there was a sort of a use it or lose it scenario.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much for joining me from Washington. I think the larger point which you have made, that it was to instill fear, instill confusion, and disorient Hezbollah, which has been attacking the northern parts of Israel. And as Dan Pfefferman said, there are 60,000 homeless Israelis today, which the press has not written about and not spoken about. But this war has also led to a number of important people coming out and speaking. Israel's army chief visited the Northern Command on Wednesday and said that the country has many capabilities which are yet to be activated, which means maybe there is more in store. Let's listen in.
אנחנו מאוד נחושים לייצר את התנאים הביטחוניים שמחזירים את התושבים לבתים, ליישובים, ברמת ביטחון גבוהה, ואנחנו מוכנים לעשות באמת כל מה שנדרש כדי להביא את הדברים האלה. אנחנו כמעט שנה, לאורך כל המלחמה, נלחמים בעזה שתי מטרות מרכזיות, יש עוד. פירוק החמאס, השבת החטופים. הרבה הישגים, ויש לנו עוד הרבה ללכת קדימה. יש לנו הרבה יכולות שעוד לא הפעלנו. עוד לא הפעלנו, ראינו פה חלק מהדברים, זה נראה לי במוכנות טובה, ואנחנו מכינים את התוכניות האלה קדימה. הכלל הוא, כל פעם שאנחנו עובדים בשלב מסוים, שני השלבים הבאים, מוכנים לצאת כבר חזק קדימה. בכל שלב, המחיר בחיזבאללה צריך להיות יותר גבוה.
Hey, careful, huh? My daddy got it from abroad. Hey,